What's going on, you guys? This is the Triple Thrift Podcast. I'm here with my boys, Josh and Drew. It's been a really long time. A bunch of stuff has gone on, and I'm just excited to talk to you guys, even just talk to the boys all together. It's been a while. But I just got rid of COVID. COVID's gone out of my body, but my brain is still like in this fog stage. So I'm trying to get back to normal. A bunch of stuff's been going on, so let's say hello to the boys and we'll jump right into it. So, Drew, what's up, man?
Hey, buddy,
Pretty
how's it
good.
going? I'm so glad that you're feeling better. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm just happy to finally get another podcast in. It seems like every time the three of us want to get together to record something, one of us can't make it or can't do it, and so getting all three of us together is tough, but it's fun when we're able to do it. So I'm glad that we're able to get together today and share this time to hang out and chat and catch up and talk about some stuff that hopefully the viewers and listeners will enjoy.
There you go.
Josh, what's up, man?
Living the dream, man. What I said, busy and
Oh, yeah.
blessed. That's going to be my license
Yeah.
plate on my car one day. Yeah, I mean, we've just been working. I think I remember when you went full time, we were all like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. We can do podcasts like all the time. Maybe we can do like 2 a week. It's gonna be so easy because we're all gonna be just free to do anything every day." And it's not. It's much more difficult now to get us all together at the same time. But yeah, I'm excited. It's been a long time, probably like a month since our last episode. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about today.
Let's go. So, big thing about me, guys, I just sold my bed in my spare bedroom, and we have tons and tons of more space. And we just built some new racks, some like new the metal shelving that you buy at like Home Depot for like $100. We just sold my bed for 300, so we just bought three of them, and we just built them, and it's looking pristine in here. I want to say shout out to Destiny. Destiny's been working super, super hard, and everything is organized right now. I can't wait to just go thrifting, getting stuff listed, and back on track. So, shout out to Destiny. Super pumped to keep this business moving. I love being full time, and hopefully we can get back to the podcast. Like I am pumped. I just need to get back into reselling. I feel like I've been out of the loop for forever. I've been laying in bed for 2 weeks. It's been way too long. I can't wait to jump back into this. So yeah.
There you go. So I guess Joey, since you started going full time, before this COVID hiccup, have you had any other hiccups in the process, like something that nobody told you was going to be an issue when becoming a full time seller?
So the biggest thing was organization, and I really think that everybody should be really, really organized, because you're not going to do this right if you're not organized. Like I even went over to Drew's house to help him organize, and he needed that bad. Like he got very organized, and now he's so happy that he did that. You have a big garage, Josh, so like you have a lot of space, and it's I'm sure everything now is well organized from your YouTube videos and stuff. But like for me, like all I had was like a spare room, and it was just like I had a closet, like but just building our eBay store, we have 1400, about almost 1400 listings. You got to be organized. So luckily it's a bunch of clothing, and we got a bunch of bins, and it's just all numbered. Like I don't know why we picked B, I guess for my last name or something from Barcia, but we have like B1 to all the way to like almost 44 now. So it's like it's
Wow.
crazy like how much organization we have. But yeah, I mean, there's been no hiccups. I've been, like you said, super blessed like to be in this position where I'm at. Reselling is, a lot of people were saying like how hard this is going to be. Like if you're like I don't know why those people would say that. Like this is one of the most fun things that I've ever done in my life. Like I'm literally relaxing and I'm making money. It doesn't, like, you can't beat that. But like I said, man, there's been no hiccups. Like the only thing was just organization, but like when you sell something, you know exactly where it's at, you pull it out, ship it out. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like one of the biggest things. Like I know usually when I talk to Drew, sometimes you can't find things, and I'm like, bro, you need to organize. Like like there's no way you can't find an item. Like if you list it, you just you gotta like mark it somewhere, like bin, he does it like by what, like small, large, medium, like, and he has them like in bins like that. But for me, like we got to have it in like B3, it's in this bin, and you can find it. I mean, there's no way to, not be tracked. Like it's simple, if you put something
Yeah.
in place early enough and don't let it get too far drawn out, you can be very organized. But you got to start off like that, but
Yeah.
that's a big
I
thing.
think I I think that, like, for you giving some of the examples for me, I think that, one of the things is when you first start off reselling, I don't really think that anybody really predicts how big or how large or how fast their business can grow or scale. So when I first started off reselling, I was going to a couple garage sales, and then I found out about the bins. And that really changed my whole business model, because I went from, buying random things here and there, and just like having it in my office, to, buying these huge hauls of clothing from the bins because it was so cheap. I mean, I was getting, 50 pounds of clothing from the bins for $64, and I would have, so many pieces. And you just start off with what you know how to do. And I think for me, I really didn't watch a lot of um, YouTubers or other resellers on how they do their inventory, because everybody does it differently. I mean, even right now, as we speak, as I'm recording this, I just started redoing my shoe inventory, and my wife is still outside by the shed, kind of working on it as I'm in here recording with you guys, because right now my shoe inventory is like, I've got some on racks, I've got some on these shelves that I built with Joey. If you go back and watch that video, we built those together. And now I've got like three like bins, whatever, storage tubs with shoes sitting in them from shoes that I've listed, but I don't have space to put them anywhere. And so we've kind of been reevaluating even that part of our business, because lately, I don't know what it is, but lately I've been finding 90% shoes out of all my inventory. And I go to the hard goods, I go to the electronics, I look for the Tim, stuff, I
Mhm.
look for the vacuums, I look for the stuff that people don't like selling. And I'm telling you, it is dry out there right now. And so, my last three major hauls were, well, four. I did a bulk buyout. If you haven't seen that video, you can see I got a bunch of clothing and shoes and hard goods and ephemera and all sorts of stuff. And I'm still going through that and listing it. Um, and then I went to Utah with Joey, and I got a bunch of shoes because Tim was getting all the heavy stuff. And then I went to the flea market with Matt, my friend Matt, like 2 weeks ago, and came home with a huge thrift haul of mostly shoes.
Yeah.
And then, and so I'm not trying to say that like I'm transitioning my business to shoes, but what I'm trying to do now is make my shoes in my business more efficient. So like what Joey was saying, where I sell a pair of shoes and they're just all random on a shoe rack, and I have to go through each shoe rack. Now I'm organizing them in bins by size. So men's 8, men's 9, etc. And then I can just go straight to that bin, slide it off of a shelf, and grab the pair. And I think it's going to be really good for me, even though I hate the fact that I'm already like full time in this thing. You know what I mean? And so like I've already kind of started doing it this way with the shelves and the racks, and now I'm changing it up completely. And so all that to say that nobody's business system will necessarily work perfectly for everybody. Like Rinzi has those plastic shoe tower things, and every
Yeah.
time I get one, they fall over and break.
Me too.
I either there's only two theories I have. The first one is they're wizards and they figured out a way to make them not break, or they break and they just don't post about it on their social media because they just take it as like a cost of doing business with selling shoes, and they just pick them up and build another rack and move on.
Yeah.
You know, because their content isn't built around like, on my content, I share the ups and the downs, the goods, the bads, the slow days, the good days, the sales, the listings. And Rinzi, their Instagram is very like one track minded in a good way. They're very like, they just show you what they do, they share their process, and they show their package stacks, and they teach you along the way. But that method doesn't work for me, because I'm just more like open about my business
Yeah.
in a different way of just sharing everything that I'm doing. So those shoe racks won't work for me. So I'm trying something different. Even though Joey, like is just kind of getting into full time still, and now he's organizing. I'm still 2.5 years into it, changing my systems up, and so sometimes I think that that's good to look at your business and take a step back and say like, okay, what areas can I improve on? I mean, even when I got the shed, and then like Joey was saying, he came over and helped me. It was like it was a night and day difference in my business even from that.
Yeah.
And now I'm increasing isn't the right word. I'm changing it up again to try to increase my productivity so that I can grab things faster, have more space, make it more efficient, and all that kind of stuff. So, that stuff is very important. The organization is something nobody told me about when I first started, and I really didn't see any YouTubers talking about it because, quite frankly, it's the boring part of the business that doesn't get the views. I think that it's important, but it doesn't get the views on YouTube. So most content creators don't put videos about that unless they like add it in like 1 or 2 minute phases, like Josh does with his videos,
Yeah.
where you do a little bit of everything and you show a little bit of your inventory, but it's not a full video of like a breakdown of everything that you do, which is why it works for you.
Yeah, I resorted to just talking about my storage and organization system like once in every 20 videos because it doesn't matter. I could literally post a video tomorrow, like completely talking about my inventory system, giving a breakdown on the SKUs and the bins and how everything works. And by Tuesday, I'll have at least one person asking me how my bin system works. So it doesn't matter when you cover it on YouTube. People are not going to watch it. They're not going to look. They just want refreshers constantly. So I've just found it better to just talk about it more frequently in random videos rather than make dedicated videos because nobody's going to go back and watch the dedicated videos.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. And again, everybody's different. So like you have a garage, I have a shed, Joey has a spare bedroom. The shoe racks may not work in Joey's spare bedroom where they would work in your garage maybe because Joey has carpet and you can't roll them back and forth, where in your garage you're on concrete, let's say, or that flat carpet. I think that's what you have in there, right?
So it's like half and half. We had the whole garage was carpeted when we moved in, and then we ripped up half of it. So like the inventory area is still carpeted, and the front part where we list and stuff is concrete.
Yeah. So those rolly racks may not work in someone else's situation where they may work for me in my shed because I've got those like flat carpet squares where I could roll them. But now I'm getting too much inventory in shoes where I'm based on, in my opinion, this is solely my opinion, based on where I live, there's at flea markets and garage sales and even thrift stores, there's still an abundance of shoes. And so I'm finding that I'm building my business off of what's available in my area. It's nice to find vintage t-shirts. It's nice to find $1,000 vintage Mac computers at garage sales, but that stuff just isn't as available as you could walk into any thrift store and probably find at least a couple pairs of shoes to sell.
I'm so surprised when people say stuff like that. Like I'll post a thrift haul where we got 5 pairs of shoes and Haley picked up some jeans and a shirt, and people say like, "Oh, bro, you need to look for vintage t-shirts, or you need to look for old camcorders or like calculators or stuff." Like Tim Osborne at Thrift just sold a calculator the other day for like $300. I'm like, it's not that I'm not looking for that stuff. It's just that those things are very hard to find. You can't just find stuff like that in every single thrift store you go into. If you think that, you're just watching too many YouTube videos. Like if somebody like Tim, I haven't watched a ton of Tim's videos, but I think he does a pretty good job of telling people giving an honest depiction of his success rate. Maybe like, I don't know, like if we go thrifting, we go to 4 thrift stores and only find stuff at 2. I'm not going to show us going to the other 2 because this is a waste of time. But I think it's important for people to know, like, who was it the other day? Like Thrifty Yeti. Didn't he post an Instagram story where he went to like 12 or 13 thrift stores?
It was more than that. It was like 20 something.
Yeah. And I like that because that gave people he found a couple nice things, but he did go to a lot of thrift stores. So it's not that, Drew doesn't understand that there's value in vintage typewriters or calculators or vintage t-shirts. It's just that stuff, especially in your area, your Goodwill suck, man. Like you just can't find affordable things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, like, I'm genuinely looking, but now I'm so hyper focused on what is working. And I've said this before in the podcast too, so it's probably going to sound like a broken record, but one of the first people that I really did learn certain things from was Renzi. And they are who I learned shoes from. And when Ryan says things like, stop being romantic to what doesn't work and pour gas on what does, I mean, quite frankly, it's the truth. Like,
Yeah.
if you're finding shoes in your area and you enjoy photographing, like, again, shoes work for me because I come into my office, the kids are in bed, my wife is asleep, I can turn on my lights, and I have a little photography setup here in my office. Shoes are quiet, they don't require any electronic testing, I don't have to plug things in. I take pictures, I put them in a bin, and then I bring them to my shed. It's very quiet, it's easy for me to stay up till 2 in the morning and get a bunch of listings done for shoes. I don't have to flat lay clothing. I don't have to hang it. I don't have to look for natural lighting. It's just a perfect setup for me. So I sell other stuff.
My other favorite quote from Renzi is that, like, there are multiple ways to win. Like, people are like, why don't you sell on eBay? Talking to Renzi, and he's like, we just don't want to. Like, not saying you can't make a huge business with eBay. It's just not something they want to do. So if you want to sell mugs, that's not something I really get into because it's just not something I enjoy. But my friend, Heroin Bob, she goes by Bob Buys on YouTube. She does a ton of mugs, and she loves the process of doing it. So who cares? Just sell whatever you want as long as you're enjoying the process and you are comfortable with the amount of money that it's bringing in for the amount of work that it's costing you. Who cares?
Yeah, like for us, like we mainly do clothing now, just because of like trying to find those crazy items, like the calculators and the crazy stuff that other people find. We are strictly like in clothing now. Like Destiny will run into the clothing section, do all clothing, and I'll just go to the shoes, the electronics, DVDs, video games, anywhere in those kind of sections. But it's like our focus is been clothing, and we've been killing it with clothing. I'm talking jeans, I'm talking vintage t-shirts, shorts, men's shorts. We're talking Lululemon, Athleta. There's a lot of things that we find in clothing. Like we just found a pair of Affliction shorts. I'm once I get back into the swing of things, I'm going to be doing videos on like clothing and stuff, because like that's what we find here now. That's like our bread and butter. That's what we find, and it's hard to find those other things because Goodwill, like that's where I primarily like shop, is Goodwill. And Goodwill's been sending everything to shop Goodwill, and it's been really tough. Like my golf section, I used to love going into the golf club section. They just ripped that out. They don't even have golf clubs in any Goodwill. They're sending them all to shop Goodwill, which is like I love selling golf clubs. Like it's one of my favorite things to sell. It's so easy. You put it right into a priority mailing tube. Boom, you ship it out. But it's like now I can't even find them anymore. I have to go to like a flea market or garage sales and find them there. But like my business is totally different from you guys. Like you guys go to flea markets, I go to Goodwill. Like that's where I shop.
Dude, I'll say that any reseller that depends on Goodwill as like a main source of their income needs to reevaluate and find other sources, because Goodwill's not going to get any better. They're not going to lower their prices or start selling better items anytime soon. It's only going to get worse every single year. So like if that's why I started going to flea markets, garage sales, like Cincinnati Picker and those guys, they've got garage sales at the yin yang apparently. But us, like we checked yesterday, there's one sale it was like in Chapin. So that's like 20 minutes away. And it was a community sale, but we all know how that goes. Sometimes it's two houses, nothing but baby clothes. And there was another sale in Red Bank, which is like literally 25 minutes in the opposite direction. So if we went to one, it would be 45 minutes to get to the next one. And those are the only two advertised. We just do not have garage sales here. Not nearly as much. I mean, we can't go to, if I could find 10 on one Saturday morning, I would be extremely surprised.
Gold, literally.
And then they're all at the same time. They all start between like 7 and 8. It is so frustrating because you're like trying to look at the pictures to see which one's worth going to, and you get there and they're like, "Oh, sorry, that sold yesterday. Somebody messaged us and evicted it." It's just the flea market has just been so much better than all that stuff, man. The Goodwills around here are still good, but again, I'm not banking on that forever. I know that their prices are just going to get higher and they're going to get more and more. I did learn recently that Goodwill employees, like they have to hit certain like I don't know if it's all employees, but like they have to hit certain markers on sales on Shop Goodwill, like on the online. If they hit their goal, they get like a $200 bonus. I'm like, that's not that much money. Like, I'd be willing to pay you $200 to not send that stuff to Shop Goodwill. Let me buy it instead. So I don't know, man. Like, Goodwill's all about making money, and I get that. They're a business. Like, I understand. But they just need to, I don't know.
I think it's important for resellers to just know that this business is all about adaptation. Like, you have to be willing to change with the times and seasons. You know, if you are strictly a garage sailor and your business is entirely garage sales, and then the winter hits and you have no garage sales, like, you have to be able to know what to do. You know, that's why, you know, there are certain content creators who do well because they know that, you know, when the thrifts are dry, they can go to Burlington and Ross and still find stuff to resell, you know, or they can go to Walmart and scan Legos for clearance, you know, and send them to Amazon FBA. Or, you know, if there's no Legos, you know, then they go to pawn shops and they start looking for things to flip. Like, I've been peeping in pawn shops, like, on my way to and from flea markets, and I don't find a lot of stuff, but I'm usually finding decent shoes that I can flip. You know, I pay $40 for a pair of Jordans that I can sell for 150, you know, or something like that. And so, you know, there's so many things out there that you can do, you know, online arbitrage, where you can go on Depop or Poshmark and find stuff and flip it back on eBay. Anfisa, Far North Thrift, she's like the queen of going on Poshmark and finding a Dale of Norway jacket for $10 on Poshmark and then flipping it for 150 on eBay.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's really just all about adaptation. Like, I wasn't really into shoes for the longest time. I would pick up a pair here or there, you know, and, you know, but I'm also not like a hype beast. So I don't know about like all the Jordans and the Air Maxes and all these different models, you know. And I tried the Ross arbitrage thing in my area, and it's very, very, very competitive, you know. And so, you know, there's just, there's so many different factors in every area where different people live that, you know, adaptation is very important. But then the other point I want to make with all this is that you can't compare yourself to any other reseller. And I say that because I am the worst at that. You can ask Joey. Like, I'm like, you know, I'll be talking to him on the phone at night one day, and he's like, yo, how are your sales going? I had like 24 sales today. I'm like, that's great. I had 6, you know. But I mean,
that's the Eeyore, man.
Yeah. But for example, I had like seven shipments go out today. 7 sales today. I shipped out a bunch of stuff on Friday, and then 7 sales that went out today. Those 7 sales was over $1,200 in sales. You know, because if you saw my Instagram, I sold a jacket for $600. But that's why, like, package pictures and stuff don't really do anything unless someone's providing context behind it. Because Joey could have 28 packages going out the door, but if each item is $20, that's still only $400 in sales. I had one item today go out for more than all 20 of those potential packages. Now, Joey's average sale price is higher than 20, but I'm just saying that to say, like, don't go on Instagram and see these big resellers posting these huge package pictures or anything, because you don't know what their profits are. You don't know what they're paying for things. You don't know, you know, where they're getting them from. You don't know.
I'm going to post a package picture on Tuesday because the holiday weekend. So, you know, there's going to be so many package pictures on Tuesday, but we've got all those hat auctions ending today. We already have, I think there's like 52 items ready to be shipped, and like 40 something waiting for payment.
Wow.
But our average sales price
like
is probably like $4.
Yeah.
It was very, so we're going to look at all these packages. Oh my gosh, we made $300.
Yeah.
So you're totally right, man. It's all about context.
Yeah. So
some people have even blamed like I don't know, bigger sellers like Nicole State or something like that. If she'll post a package picture, people are like, oh, they're all fake. She just boxed up the priority boxes. There's nothing inside. I'm like, I don't think anybody would be so like petty enough to actually do that. Like, that's a lot of work just for like a little bit of clout on Instagram, you know?
That's one reason why I think that Tim Osborne the Thrift is so good at what he does, because when he posts a package picture from weekend sales, you can swipe over and he'll show you what he sold, and then next to it he also writes in how much he paid for each item.
Yeah.
So like a Bose speaker he sold for $100, he'll say paid 12. This computer for 400 paid 20. These pairs, whatever. And so he's giving context. He doesn't just say, $5,500 in sales out the door,
Yeah.
but like for me, I actually stopped doing package pictures because I hate shipping on the weekends, like waiting till Monday.
Yeah.
Now I ship all my stuff on Fridays, I ship all my stuff on Saturdays, and then I usually have Sundays and I ship it out on Mondays. That's why you don't see my package stacks anymore, because it doesn't compare
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. Exactly. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
But
Joey, you posting a package picture on Tuesday?
I don't even think well, sometimes I put them on my story, but not like a post, but I'll just put like, Santa Claus came good today or something, like whatever.
Shout out my mail lady.
If you provide context to your content, I think that's great. Even if you said something as simple as like 28 packages going out the door, an average sale price of $28 or something, so and my average buy cost of $4. Like that way people understand the numbers. Ginger Marvin does that too. Yeah. She's really good at sharing her numbers like that. But when you just post a picture of a bunch of poly mailers and bags, I'm like, you could have sold a bunch of t-shirts for 99 cents. So, it's just it doesn't make sense to me. And maybe it's because I consider myself at this point more of a seasoned reseller. So that type of content, like, just in a sense pisses me off, because I want to know, like, I want to learn something from your content. Like, if I'm following you or if you're trying to gain followers, you have to add value to the content you're creating, or people are just going to be like, oh, okay, like posting a pair of Jordans that you got, doesn't do anything for me. Tell me where you got them. Tell me how much you paid. Tell me how many losses you took on the sneakers app before you finally got a W. Tell me how much they're selling for on StockX. Teach me about the market. Tell me something other than showing me a picture of black and yellow Jordans, please.
Yeah. And show it, especially when it comes to like social media and even YouTube, like if you only show the wins, it's going to seem fake, like, but it's a fine line, because you don't want to I'm not going to post a video. Like if I go to the bins, we went to the bins the other day, filmed a video, didn't really find anything. Like I'm not going to make a video about that. I'll talk about it here on the podcast, but that wouldn't be a very good video. But like when I make the next bins video and it's a banger, I'll be like, oh, we've been to the bins 3 times in the past and haven't found anything, and now this was finally the winner. So it's, I don't know, social media is like the fine balance of like creating engaging and entertaining content that provides value, but also putting it in context, to like, hey, it's not always like this. That's the thing I've seen about Renzi. Like when they post like, oh, first stop 18 pairs, second stop 35 pairs, I'm like, how are you buying that many shoes at each stop?
It is nuts.
Like they're really good at it and they have systems in place, but I do wish they'd be a little bit more, I guess, transparent on that. Like I'm not saying they're lying. I'm just saying it's not really into context. Like I don't want people to see that and think they could just go into a thrift store and buy 35 pairs of shoes for like average buy cost of $7. I can't do that. And I have some of the best shoe prices in the country.
You do.
Right. I talk to Dalton about this a lot, because Dalton and I, are friends. We hang out, we thrift together and stuff. His name's Dealing with Dalton on Instagram, but in YouTube, he solely sells shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk about this because, like Dalton, he sometimes will post things like that he has big hauls like that too. Sometimes like 22 pairs. I'm like, bro, that store does not put out 22 good pairs in one stop. But then you look at his cart and he's like, you got to understand, like, I'm buying store fillers. I'm buying Toms, Keds, Converse. He's buying a lot of brands that other people pass up on because they're quick flips for him. He pays $8 and sells them for $25. It's just store fillers. He's not buying those just to lower his buy cost.
That's a banger in my store, man. 8 to 25. I'll take that all day long. That's top tier.
So, we've talked about that because we were saying maybe that's what Renzi's doing, is like they're picking up all Skechers, they're picking up all Keds, all Toms, all Bobs, all Clarks, these like lower tier brands. But then Ryan said on a live recently, someone asked him like, what is something that you've changed about your business and they said that they've stopped picking up 40% of models that aren't selling like as good as the other brands, for example.
Yeah.
But then they didn't tell you what those models are. So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, this is great for me to learn. Like, okay, you guys are the experts in shoes. So tell me now what brands you guys stop picking up. Is it based on profit margin? Is it based on condition? Is it based on sell-through rate? You know, and they also don't sell on eBay. So you have to take that into consideration with their content too. You know, they're paying
But
20%
also,
on Poshmark.
what's important to think about in business in general, there has to be some sort of incentive for somebody to share all of their business secrets. Renzi has a great YouTube channel. They're great people, but I don't think they're making a ton of money on YouTube. And
Right.
so for them to make a YouTube video telling you exactly like which 40% we're not picking up, and this is our business run exactly, for them not to get anything out of that other than just to be nice people, I don't really want to expect, like, I can't say I expect that from them. Like, I share secrets, but I also make really good money on YouTube. So I have an incentive to provide that content. Whereas somebody like them, they're clearly more focused on the reselling business rather than, you know, the social media aspect, which is fine. But again, there has to be something in it. Like, if you're a business person, you're not just going to go around telling your secrets for free on the internet, you know, creating competition and getting nothing out of it.
I agree 100%. And Ryan and Lindsay, if you're listening to this for any reason, I love you guys, and I'm not talking down about your business. I think your business is great. What I'm trying to say is that if you are a new reseller and you're trying to create content that adds value, you can't think that you're in a place like Renzi when you have 40K followers. You know, you can answer the questions you want and answer the questions you don't. When you're growing and you're trying to gain a following, you have to add value to people for them to even want to follow you, you know? And so like I think I shared this with you, Josh. I saw this one girl, she tagged you in something that she was like, I just literally passed out because Harry Tornado started following me on Instagram or something.
Shout out the rural squirrel. That was her name.
That's a hard name to say.
So rural. Yeah. So it's cool that you have people that like are so into your content and feel that you provide so much value to them that you're like a celebrity in that sense, that you simply just clicked a follow button and people are like, my day is made. Harry Tornado just followed me. Like, that's really cool. But the reason that happened is because, like you said, you do provide a lot of context behind everything you do. You know, since Haley came aboard, you've been sharing all the ups and downs of, you know, the things she's picking up. Like that pair of jeans she sold for $100, you would have never picked those up at the bins.
I wouldn't even look. I wasn't even looking at clothes.
You know, so I think that that's, you know, awesome that, you know, there's that dynamic. It's the same thing with Joey and Destiny. Like, you know, now Joey, when we were in Utah, he was finding Lululemon leggings at every store. And I said to him one time, I was like, Joey, did you imagine you'd be a 25-year-old full-time reseller looking in the women's legging section, you know? But I mean, he's making money. So
yeah, that's always funny to think about. Like, where, like, people always say, man, if you would have told me 5 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing today, I wouldn't have believed you. And it's just crazy how so many people have plans like, oh, in 5 years I'm gonna be doing this. I'm like, dude, your life could be completely just the most wild thing you could ever imagine in 5 years. 5 years is a long time.
I mean, look at the guy on TikTok who did that, like that drone.
I know you're talking about,
video,
like,
the stay.
Yeah.
Now he's doing videos with Bella, who's like the most followed girl on TikTok, and Jason Derulo, and like all these famous people. And all he did was do a little dance with a drone. And now he basically is like quit his job. He's full-time TikTok or whatever. Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy.
Dude, social media, like, it's becoming an actual, like, legitimate career. Like, especially with TikTok and Instagram Reels, like, you can do one thing, something as simple as making a fun dance with a drone, and you can replace like a really good job. Like, I mean, if the guy was making, you know, 40, 50 grand a year, you know, average income or whatever, and then takes off like he did, he could easily replace that. Same thing happened with Dogface, the guy with the cranberry juice on the skateboard. Yeah. The guy was living in a trailer, you know, living in a trailer, like riding a skateboard to work, and now he's a multimillionaire. It looks like he's like spending a lot of his money on dumb stuff. So I hope he's not. But I mean, his life completely changed because of freaking TikTok. So I mean, don't sleep on social media. Like, it's definitely not for everybody. But I mean, if you're outgoing, if you're engaging, if you know how to talk to people, if you know how to hold someone's attention, monetize that with social media. My life has been completely turned upside down in the most positive way you can imagine because of social media.
It's
I mean, can you imagine just like the three of us not knowing each other and what we'd be doing if if we had never met each
Right.
other, like through social media? It would just be weird to think about, like, I'm talking to you right now, but what would I be doing if I hadn't met you? And, you know, the fifth dimension Drew that had never met Josh and Joey, you know, like, who would I be friends with instead? Would I be doing a
You'd be
podcast?
working at your scooter shop.
Probably.
You'd be working at the scooter shop still. Joey would be delivering mail, and I'd be working at some boring insurance job.
right. And
That's what
we
it would
wouldn't
be
be
like.
living our lives like how we are now, you know?
No.
Yeah. So, as far as, well, I don't know if I want to say that, but I'll say something else to change up the topic a little bit. So, for those of you guys who follow me for a little bit, I've been kind of posting a little bit about Hammock and trying them out and using the platform. And people were asking me for an update video when I started using Hammock, and then Dante, Prison of Profit, and Dalton both put out videos about like how to use Hammock, what my opinions are on it. So I was like, I don't want to be like the third wheel putting out the same type of content. So I didn't put out a video about it, but I've been sharing it a lot on my Instagram and stuff. And I do like the platform, and they've offered me like a, I guess you could say like a micro influencer sponsorship is what I would call it. Like they're not paying me for like posts and stuff like that, but when I use Hammock, they're giving me like listing credits now at this point for me sharing about using Hammock on social media. So like if I'm doing my listings and then I say like, hey, uploading these to Hammock today, you know, like every month they add a little bit of listing credit to my Hammock account, which is kind of cool because like I've been doing this for, you know, 2.5 years. I haven't sold merch. I haven't had anybody like approach me. I haven't really approached anybody else either. Like I haven't messaged, you know, Canon and say, hey, you guys need to send me a camera and sponsor me. I'm a YouTuber. But, you know, it's cool that like I'm at a place now where, you know, businesses or companies are, you know, offering me that. And Josh, I know that you've experienced that, you know, quite a bit. Like
Shout
for me,
out
what's that?
Shout out Skillshare.
Yeah. What has that been like for you with your business? Like since you are, you know, eBay and YouTube, and then now you have like these companies that are seeing how successful you are offering you sponsorships. I think we've talked about it a little bit before. I don't know if in or outside of the podcast, but
yeah. I mean, it's part of YouTube, man. Like for some reason in the reselling community, there's like a really like negative attitude towards it. And I can see it kind of shifting, like people are understanding, but like literally in any other genre of YouTube videos, like video games, music, tech, anything, like top creators do sponsored videos. Probably most of them have every single video sponsored by somebody. One of my favorite YouTubers is Sarah Dietschy. She does like tech reviews and things like that. Every video is sponsored, but it's just like part of it. Like it's just part of the deal. And really it's more important for them because, you know, with video game creators and tech creators, they're not making the kind of YouTube money that resellers are. But I don't know, man, like big, you know, big people like, you know, Cincinnati Picker or stuff like that, they're passing up thousands and thousands of dollars in sponsor videos. So, I mean, to each his own. I mean, you do whatever you want, but I was like really the first reseller, I think, to start doing, one of the first at least, to start doing ads, like sponsored segments pretty regularly. I've got to deal with Skillshare for a whole year. And it's awesome. And it's such a small thing. Like I have a 30-minute video and there's a 60-second segment 6 minutes in where I talk about Skillshare and then it's done. And you guys, you know, can try out Skillshare if you want. If you don't, whatever, I don't care. I mean, like they paid me to do the ad. I did it. And you still have, you know, 29 minutes of free content. So it's such a small price to pay. Like watching a creator's ad that they do, it's such a small amount of time, just to, help them out, so I'm certainly not going to stop anytime soon. It's been an awesome source of income for us. We just paid off our last debt last week, cleared the banks. We're officially debt free.
Nice. Congrats, man.
I gotta see if Dave Ramsey will let me come on the show and do a debt free screen. We still have our credit cards, so I don't think they'll let me. But yeah, it's awesome, man.
Josh is going to go on the Dave Ramsey show, and he's going to be like, "We're debt free." Like if I was on there, for those of you guys who listen to the Dave Ramsey show, like I used to listen to it a lot when I had my bread route because I was working at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and so it would like always be playing on a radio station. And like you'd have these people. What he does is he helps people get out of debt, and then people go on the radio show and they do their debt free scream where they scream out that they're debt free finally. And you hear these people get on there and they're like, Dave counts them down. He's like, "All right, I want to hear your debt free scream in 3, 2, 1." And the couple is like, "We're debt free." I'm like, man, if I was on there, I'd be screaming at the top of my lungs. So people
and
never forget
the ones that have the best story is like, so my husband and I have really struggled and sacrificed over the last 8 years. We haven't eaten out at a single restaurant. We paid off $867,000 in student loan debt, and we're just really excited to be here. And then their debt-free screen is like, "We're debt-free." I'm like, we paid off $867,000. Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, like if you want to go on a show to do your debt-free screen, you have to like apply, and they have like a questionnaire. Like if you don't follow his practices, like if you still have open credit cards, or if you leased your car or something like that and you didn't get rid of it, they won't let you on. Like they want to make sure everybody that does their debt-free screen has followed their baby steps, which I think is kind of dumb. I think Dave Ramsey, like he's a good guy, but his advice is way, way conservative. Yeah. I'm like, it's safe, but it's like, the safest way to not ski is the safest way to ski is to not ski. The safest way to avoid financial problems is to avoid everything, every risk you possibly can. Pay cash for everything so nothing bad can ever happen. I'm like,
no.
Yeah, I think you're missing out on a lot of opportunities there, Dave.
Well, he doesn't need those opportunities because people pay him for him to teach them how to have those to get out of debt. So
it's so funny because like somebody asked him one time, they wrote into the show and they're like, "Hey, so my wife and I are like 60. We have credit cards. We've had them since we were like 20 something. We've paid them off every single month. We've racked up points. We've racked up free flights. We've never paid interest. Why is this a bad thing?" And he went on this long rant about how your mind doesn't register when you use plastic instead of cash, blah, blah, blah. But he also has a debit card. So I'm like, how is using a debit card any different than using a credit card that you pay off every month? It's just your plastic argument is the same for a debit card. So I just think I get it. Like he doesn't want to tell some people that they can use credit cards and some people that they can't. So he just has the blanket statement, but I don't think that's responsible. I think there's a lot of good that can be done with credit if handled correctly.
Yeah, I have to use a credit card. Like there's no choice. Like there's bonus rewards everywhere, like
it's free money, man.
A lot of free money out there.
Just in the last I think in the last 2 months we've been using our business card for like, we can't use it for shipping labels anymore, but like sourcing, and I use it to book our trips to Las Vegas and Los Angeles for the YouTube conference and the Boss Reseller Remix. And just in the last 2 months, I think we have like $600 in like points. That's just like cash, redeemable cash at this point.
What's the deal with the Boss Reseller Remix? Like, what is it? I see people like sharing about it, but there's no context. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so it's a conference in Las Vegas. It's I think October 18th through the 22nd, and it's like. Not Your Dad CPA is going to be there. He's going to be speaking about like taxes. There's going to be different resellers there speaking about different aspects of the business, like social media and wholesale and increase the quality of your listings, all these different things. It's like a 3-day thing. So it's just a conference for resellers to meet up with people that they know, learn to improve their business, and, enjoy some time in Las Vegas. We are going, Haley and I are going. I'm not going to be speaking, unfortunately, unless there's some random spot that opens up. I'm just going to go hang out with, Ryan and Allie and Callie are going to be there. And Mark, it'd be cool to meet him since he's my accountant. It'd be cool to meet him in person. But I think it's going to be fun.
That's awesome.
Who's like putting it on though? Like is because like eBay Open is put on by eBay, but this
Yeah,
is like
I think it's just some resellers. I don't. One of them's named Katie, I think, but I don't know them. I don't know. There's a lot of people going that I don't know. I think it's like I don't. They were on a Rally Roots live stream a couple weeks ago talking about it, but I don't know them. We just saw it, and I saw a couple of people talking about it, and I recognize a few names that were going to be there, and we just decided to go. But it's not that. I think it's like $260 a ticket, but it's a 3-day event, and it's like includes all the speakers and everything like that. It includes, I think, the end night is like a catered meal or something with drinks, and I don't know. So it should be pretty good. Las Vegas hotels are super cheap, man. We're going for 5 days. It was like $80 a night, but it's like not a bad hotel. It's got like 4.8 stars on Google. Like there's a casino in the bottom, which is probably why it's so cheap. They want you to gamble, and so you lose money.
Vegas is desperate right now for business for sure.
Yeah, I mean it was like for five nights. I think it was like $380 or something. It was crazy.
Wow, that's really good. Hey, that's pretty good.
Joey, should we road trip up there or what?
I mean, if I
just book a flight on Frontier, man. You can fly Frontier for $90 round trip.
Dude, for some,
just don't bring a bag. They'll lose it.
Listen, when I just went to New York 2 weeks ago. You have to like do that bag thing, like check in the bag. But me and my dad were like, I have a backpack. Like I just clicked like I have no bag. I just clicked that, walked on the plane. Yeah. No one said anything. Like I was like, thank God, because I had to pay like $30 to bring my own personal bag. Yeah. Like there's nothing really in it except clothes. Like why?
I went on this flight with my old boss before, and we purposely brought like small, like carry-on size luggage so we wouldn't have to check it. And we got to the ticket counter to get on the airplane, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we're running out of storage. We're gonna have to check your bags." And so they printed out tags and put tags on our bags. And he said, "Thank you," and immediately ripped the tag off, dropped it on the ground, and took his bag on the plane anyway. I'm like, okay. I just checked mine. I hate checking bags though. It's just I get so nervous.
Drew has a bad story with that, but he got his stuff back. But right, Drew, like that was terrible.
Yeah, that was miserable, man. We were so frustrated because we have both of our kids, and our flight got delayed like 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got there at 6 p.m. for our flight to take off at like 6:30, and our plane didn't arrive till like 1:30, 1:45 in the morning. We've got kids, and we're in the whatever the airport, whatever it's called when you're waiting,
terminal.
By the terminal, and like the restaurants are closed. It's late, nothing's open, and even the bars are closed because it's so late. And my wife, the lights are on. You just can't get your kids to like go to sleep. It's not.
Yeah,
there's no
that
bed.
Sounds awful. I don't have kids, but that sounds terrible.
It was rough. And then when
we Frontier landed, though, right?
I don't remember Frontier or Jet. I think it was JetBlue.
Okay.
But either way, when we landed, then they lost my bag, and it somehow, like basically, they had made an announcement that they were going to comp people's bags with kids, or handicapped people or military people, and say like, any of your carry-on stuff, we will do as a bag check, and we'll just throw it under the plane, and you can pick it up at the carousel at the end, so that you don't have to carry all your bags with your kids. I had my bag, is Danny's carry-on bag, Asher's carry-on bag, Zeke's backpack, and then like 2 rolly suitcases. And the kids are asleep. We're holding the kids, carrying them, and then we've got their bags too. So she took like 2 of our suitcases, and they just got lost. Like they never made it on the bottom of the airplane.
And they made you check. Made you check them in, like, right?
Right. As like a free comp, quote unquote. And then we get down there, and they're lost, and nobody else had lost anything except for me. It's like it's 3:30 in the morning.
Poor old Drew.
Oh bother. It's 3:30 in the morning. I haven't slept. I'm holding up Eeyore right here next to me. right now.
For those of you
I
listening
haven't.
that don't understand, we come to the agreement that we are Winnie the Pooh characters. I'm Winnie the Pooh. Drew is Eeyore, and Joey is Tigger. Those are spirit Winnie the Pooh characters. And Drew just really does a good job of embodying Eeyore. Oh, guys, I got another return. They lost my luggage.
If anything can go wrong, it will for me. It's
Oh,
all
100%. Yeah.
Always.
I'll just But so to make that long story short, they didn't find my stuff, and this was my suitcase that like I had all my vintage Disney shirts in that I had brought for the trip that I was wearing, and I was
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I got hundreds of dollars in vintage T-shirts in this suitcase, and you guys are gonna give me every penny for the retail value of these if
Yeah.
you lose my suitcase. And like 2 days later, they called me and they had like a van, basically like Amazon Prime deliver from the airport my suitcase, and I was like, this better be my bag. Like,
Yeah.
if they show up with a different bag, I'm gonna lose it. Like Enrique, the guy who delivered my bag, I'm gonna chop off his head or something.
Oh my god.
So I had like no
man.
sleep for like 48 hours. So I was just livid. I was so frustrated. And then Danny was on the phone with JetBlue. They were trying to like, give everybody comped tickets and stuff, but they wouldn't give you your money back for the flight. They would just give you a credit for your
Another
next
flight.
flight. And it's like, well, I'm not flying with you again.
Right?
So, and then at first they didn't want to comp Asher and Zeke's flight. They only wanted to do adults over 18, and Danny was like, no. You're comping all of us.
Yeah.
And so he was on the phone for, a while talking to reps. And anyway, it seems like stuff like that.
I just want to take a quick minute to shout out the sponsor of today's podcast, JetBlue. If you guys are looking to fly anywhere, check out jetblue.com/triple-thrift-podcast. All right, boys, we got 9 minutes left. So what do we want to hit on? Is there anything that's going on in our lives that we want to hit on again that we haven't yet?
I would like to thank both of you for coming on this podcast. I really I want to do this more often. I know we said that last time, but I feel like now I'm COVID free. You guys are good. Let's just keep rolling with the punches and just keep, doing this, because a bunch of people love this. I love doing this, hanging out with you guys, just talking, hanging out. So
yeah.
What do you think?
Sounds fun.
I think that we do need to get together soon.
Yeah, actually get together.
Yeah. Like
I was just going to bring up that thing that I messaged you guys about earlier today. I posted on my Instagram as well, and by the time this podcast gets put out, the YouTube video will already come out. But at the flea market today, I found I saw this guy. I've seen him multiple times. We've had conversations. He's always like buying pocket knives, and today he had a table set up. He was selling. He had like 25 knives or so, and they're all super cool. And I just started talking to him about he makes knives and all this stuff. He says he's getting kind of old and he would be willing to sell everything. He said he has 10 bins filled with knives. I don't know exactly how many are in there. He said some of them are new in the box, so it looks like some of them may be multi-quantity listings. And all in all, say we have 1,000 knives. He told me, he was like, I would take 15 grand for everything. So if we have 1,000 knives at 15 grand, that's $15 a piece. And the knives he was selling at the flea market, I mean, he was asking anywhere from, I think the cheapest one was 30 and the most expensive one was 120, wow. 130, something like that. So would you pull the trigger on a deal like that? If you had the option to buy, let's just call it 1,000 knives with an average sales price of say $70 at $15 each. Some of them are new in the box. Some of them will be multi-quantity, but probably the vast majority will be individual listings. How would you guys do that? And take the money out of it. Say you had 15 grand. So the money wasn't an issue.
I would look at it as what's the sell-through rate? What kind of knife is this? Is this a pull-out? I don't know about knives, but whatever.
Most of the ones he had today were fixed blade. They all had leather sheaths, which was really nice, and they were all fixed blade. A couple of them were folding pocket knives, but it's not kitchen knives. They're all hunting or
but these are all custom made, right, by him?
Not all of them. Some of them are like made by companies like Buck or he said a couple of them. Some of them are made in Germany. Some of them are antique.
Wow.
But a lot of the ones he had today were like made by him.
The way that I personally look at wholesale is like, in my head, wholesale is like liquidation.
Yeah.
I don't know why. For me, I would probably say no right off the bat for 15K or $15 a knife. To me, that just seems like, to somebody else who's trying to get rid of every single thing they have to one person and just move on with their life, it seems like they're asking too much. If they
Yeah.
think that they can get $50, $60 a knife by selling at the flea market, go ahead and sell at the flea market. Like, I'm not your guy then. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to have to take pictures of every single one of these. I have to, ship them. I have to list them, and all this kind of stuff. And, there's fees involved with that versus selling at the flea market. And I also look at, like, when people tell me what their numbers are for something, I always would take that as with a grain of salt, because their numbers, they could just be making up those numbers just to get you to buy it. Like, they could say, oh, I average $50 a knife sale at the flea market. And it's like, okay, you really sold a bunch of knives for 25 and you sold one or two for 50,
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, it's definitely something I would like research into more, because I don't know a lot about knives, but there are, like, especially when it comes to like handmade, like high quality handmade knives, like there are some that sell for hundreds of dollars,
yeah.
Depending on the
Well, New Jersey
materials.
Thrifter, New Jersey Thrifter just sold a freaking knife today for $930.
Yeah.
So
I don't
it's
know.
definitely,
I definitely think it's
possible.
worth pursuing. Like, if this guy will let me like come to his house, and check out his collection, look in the bins and stuff. I don't know. I also think that I don't like judging people, but he looks like a nice down home guy, probably living off of like Social Security or something. So I think if I went in there and flashed like 10 grand in cash, he would either take it or stab me and take it, So like, I don't know. Like, I feel like, if he's starting out with 15 grand, there may be some wiggle room there. Especially if like I can get everything, out of his hair and he can just move on.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be wiggle room there. If that was his starting price, I'm thinking you can definitely get it lower. Um, Personally, what I typically do, because I've done a lot of bulk buyouts, especially from other resellers, and now it's almost become a little bit annoying, because people on Instagram are constantly DMing me going, "Hey Drew, I'm trying to stop selling clothing. Do you want to buy everything I have?" And I'm like, because I share about these bulk buyouts that I've done, I get
Yeah.
people DMing me, and then it's like, okay, your stuff is trash. Like, you don't have anything
Yeah.
worth reselling. But like, my biggest 5 buyouts that I've done, have been a lot of clothing and shoes involved. But my average buy cost per item is anywhere from like $1 to $4 an item,
Yeah.
and I tell the people, like, like, for example, that Canada Goose jacket that I sold for $600, that was in one of my bulk buys, and my average buy cost per item was about $3 to $5. I I didn't count every single item, because there was little toys, there was action figures, there was, clothing, shoes, everything. But I estimated there was about, 350 to 400 items worth reselling, and I paid 1,500 for everything. So that's
Yeah.
really at 300 items. That's $5 buy cost. If I list more than 300, the buy cost goes even further down. And then right before COVID hit, I did a huge buyout of clothing from my friends Penny and Connor, and I paid basically $1 an item. Um, and the way I justify it is like, listen, I'm taking everything. I'm taking the good stuff, but I'm also taking the bad stuff, you
Yeah.
know? And there's going to be knives that are going to sit and they're probably not going to sell. And then there's going to be knives that are going to sell instantly,
Yeah.
And that's what happened with this bulk buyout, with the bulk buyouts, you know?
I
And
definitely
it's
feel more confident in like the golf club buyout. I was super confident in that because I know golf clubs really well. I could just look and be like, oh, that's a $50 club, that's $100, that's $100. But with knives, I just think that they look cool. I don't know the different metals or what to look for. So that's a hesitation. I think what I might do is like try to have like a sample lot,
Right.
like, $1,500 or whatever, and get like 100 of them, and list those and see how well those sell. Um, But then again, maybe he won't be willing. Maybe it's like an all or nothing type deal, you know. So I just got to feel it out. But I'm definitely interested because I do think the knife market is hot. I mean, I could buy all of them, take them to like a knife show. You know, we have like I think we have one every year here. You know, people just come and buy knives. Obviously, at a place like that, there's going to be knives everywhere, so you may not get as much money if you sell them online. But and I don't know the laws. I talked in the video about like the laws of selling knives. I feel like one state or maybe a couple areas you're not allowed to sell knives to, but I don't know. Last thing I want to do is buy $15,000 worth of stuff I can't sell.
Yeah, I think there's definitely potential. You just got to look at it the same way you looked at the hats, you know, with Rally Roots. Is like there was some good ones and there were some hats that were literally worth, you know, $3. You know,
there's only 3. We only had 3 that didn't sell, but we probably had 40 that sold for like less than $5.
Yeah.
So it was rough.
You know, so and had you not auctioned those, they may have never even sold. You know,
yeah, or maybe they would have sold for more. It might would have taken 3 years, but
right. You would have listed them for 10 or $15, maybe free shipping or something, and they may have sat for even longer, you know, than you would have liked. So bulk buys are tough, especially when it's a category you're not like a full expert in, you know, or like the last bulk buyout I did from my friend Nico here, like there were certain things in there I had no idea about, like this ephemera, the magazines, the newspapers, you know. But then there's also stuff that I knew and I sold quickly.
Yeah.
There was also an item that I listed that I got a Vero on from that bulk buyout. So, you know,
what was the item?
It was a handicap wheelchair. It was supposed to be it's supposed to be the diamond in the rough of the whole lot, because that wheelchair was supposed to be worth about $1,200 by itself, which it is. But apparently there was a recall on one of the parts of that wheelchair. And so the whole thing became a Vero because one of the parts that was attached to that wheelchair was recalled, and now you can't sell it because it
happens, man. I bought like one of those rolling oxygen tanks at Goodwill the other day. It was like $12. Looked up comps on eBay and they was selling for like 200. So I took a chance on it, but then I was like, it said like prescription only, like written on it. I'm like, I'm not even gonna mess with it, man. I just redonated it. Like it might sell before eBay catches it, but medical stuff, man, I just stopped.
You can still get Vero'd after you sell it, even after it's been delivered and a buyer's left you positive feedback. That's what happened with Lavender Clothesline when the Allbirds Vero happened. Yeah. She got Vero striked on Allbirds from 6 months ago that she had already sold. I had Vero'd on ones that were just actively listed. So it's tough, crazy. Man. You have to really know your stuff, and if you don't, you got to do the research.
If anybody listening to this knows a lot about knives, email me. We'll get together.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe Josh will fly you out for a video.
I might. If there's like a legit knife expert who's like me and my dad and my dad's dad have been making and selling and flipping hunting knives all of our lives, I might fly that person out just to like go with me to that guy's house, to look at everything
stars,
and
like
help
Pawn
me.
Stars.
Like Pawn. Listen, I got a buddy who knows everything about hunting knives. Everything. Let me get him over here.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
There's one last thing I'll say real quick is there's this lady at our flea market that Dalton and I are trying to work on. We buy shoes from her every week, and she told me last week, which she had already told Dalton and gave him her phone number. She's like, I got all these rare Jordans in a storage unit, brand new in the box. I have them all listed out if you want to come make me an offer. And I was like, okay. She had already gone through this whole thing with Dalton, and then she ghosted him. So I figured, all right, I'll text her. And then she ghosted me, you know. So they're either fake or she's just lazy or something. But the Jordans, she wants $100 a pair, but most of the Jordans she has sell for over $400 a pair. Like they're rare models and colorways.
No way, dude. There's no way they're real. New in the box. You got to think, like, with new sealed stuff, nobody's going to buy Jordans and leave them in the box if they don't know the value. Like, I saw a guy at the flea market the other day. His whole table was nothing but new in box Jordans. I didn't even look. I'm like, there's no way that guy doesn't know what he has. He's only bringing them out here because they're fake. The only time I buy Jordans is if they're in good used condition, because that shows me like, hey, maybe somebody bought these and used them. I bought 2 pairs today that I'm 100% sure are real because they're like everything checks out. They're good used. They have signs of use. If I see stuff new in box at a flea market, no way, dude. No freaking way.
Well, there you have it, boys and girls. Harry Tornado has spoken about Jordan.
But they're not at the flea market. They're at our storage unit. So
You're right.
I don't know. I mean, they might be, but it just doesn't. I would be very, very careful.
I am for sure. I mean, I wouldn't even right off the rip. I wouldn't give her $100 a pair without seeing them because I'm just wholesale wise. I just like I'm not going to go cash you out with $20K worth of inventory, and you not give me a deal on it. Like I'm buying everything.
Right. Yeah.
I'm talking about everything. I'm clearing you out, lady or guy, whoever you are, whatever wholesaling you're doing. You obviously don't like what you're doing anymore. You don't want the product. You want to get rid of it, but you don't want to sell it one by one because you're lazy.
Yeah.
So if you want me to do all the work, I got to pay less. That's my theory.
Only people understood. All right, boys, we are over an hour. Thank you guys so much for listening to the new episode of the Triple Thrift Podcast. Be sure to follow us over on YouTube. We're over 1,000 subscribers. We should probably monetize that. Put some ads.
Let's monetize it.
A nice ad every 5 minutes. I think the viewers will really appreciate that.
Sponsored by.
You gotta get the little thing. What's it called? The banner for the thumbnail. You got to get the Triple Thrift Podcast thumbnail on there.
Oh yeah,
the black screen is. I don't think people know that. Like it's when they see the black screen.
I know. I need to put more effort into the podcast. I'm very busy and blessed, like we said in the beginning of the episode. All right, thank you guys for watching. Love you so much. Bye.
See ya.